I'm Dan Gordon here with Gayle McLaughlin. Gayle is running for Lieutenant Governor of California. Lieutenant Governor is kind of like the Vice President of California, but unlike, is that like an analogy? Is that
Yeah, except it's two different positions. It's not like you run as a team where the President and Vice President do the Governor and Lieutenant Governor are two distinct positions.
So you get to, so someone can run as Lieutenant Governor, or they do run, the seat runs independently of the governor's seat.
That's correct.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So just a little background for people. How did you get to running for Lieutenant Governor?
Well, I'm the former two-term mayor of Richmond, California. Richmond is a city, a very diverse city, majority people of color across the bay from San Francisco. And I served for 8 years as mayor, 2 terms, and I also served for 4.5 years as a council member. So that's 12.5 years in Richmond as a corporate-free elected official, taking no corporate money. And that's important because really we need to get corporations out of our elections, out of our politics. And in Richmond, we have this big, giant oil refinery, the Chevron oil refinery, and they spent millions to try and hold back the progressive movement. And to give you an example, in 2014, myself and 2 other progressives were running, and Chevron spent $3.5 million to try and defeat us. This is in a city, and not a huge city. It's 110,000 people. So they really wanted to push us back. But we all won, and all the Chevron-funded candidates lost. So we have a track record of winning and improving the quality of life of people in Richmond. And the reason for that is because we have an RPA, a Richmond Progressive Alliance organization that we created. I was a co-founder of this in 2003 that builds local political power and runs corporate-free candidates for local office. And today, just to bring you quickly up to date, as of November 2016, we have 5 corporate-free council members on the Richmond City Council out of 7. That's a super majority. And it was just a little over a decade ago that Chevron controlled the whole city council. So, politically we've changed it. We've also, got the minimum wage up to $15 an hour, got rent control, the first new rent control in California in 30 years. We got over $100 million in additional taxes from Chevron, all with community pressure with our building of our RPA organization and coalescing with other organizations. And we reduced crime dramatically, a 75% reduction in homicides. That's important because Richmond had a high crime. And that's because we addressed the root causes of crime, the giving people opportunities rather than trying to get more police on the streets to stamp it out. So, and many green policies. We're part of Community Choice Energy, which gives our residents and businesses cleaner, greener, and cheaper forms of electricity. So that's just a few things we did. But the Progressive Alliance is what it's all about, and we want to encourage others to do the same.
The Richmond Progressive Alliance, I'm familiar with your work. I'm actually a huge fan of what you're doing up there in LA. When we have our local meetings, we're like, how do we organize? I'm like, well, the Richmond Progressive Alliance, and then in Chicago, reclaim Chicago. I mean, and I always wave my finger up in the air like that. But the work that both of your group is doing, as well as Reclaim Chicago, what I love about it is that you focus on the issues.
That's right.
And you organize around, I think around people, around these common sense values of we want to make sure that people are running the government and not corporate funded candidates.
Absolutely, you got that 100% right. We're definitely people first. We were people first over all the years the RPA has been in existence. That is what allowed us to put forward all those good policies and change the quality of life in Richmond and do this remarkable transformation. And the issues are what really people care about, right? Corporations want to derail us, and of course they think only of their profits and their bottom line. So we have to always refocus on the issues themselves and on the fact that corporations should be out of our politics. Because otherwise, if you don't have those corporate-free elected officials sitting at the dais, along with the community leaders, the activists working on the issues, so that you can have this reciprocity relationship with on the dais and off the dais, you're going to be, wasting your breath, because the activists are great, but if the votes of the council don't match up with the needs of the activists in the community, it's just kind of stops you in your tracks.
So that's a great point. So then when you take what the work that you're doing in Richmond Progressive Alliance, and you're acknowledging the fight in front of us with all of the corporate interests, looking at Lieutenant Governor, looking at the governor, looking at the state of California, how do you take this, the victories that you've had on a local level, and expand that out through the seat of Lieutenant Governor?
Right, excellent. Another excellent question. One does lead to the other, because if elected, and I hope I'm elected, we're gaining so much momentum throughout the state. If I'm elected as Lieutenant Governor, I'll keep the organizing going. I'll keep organizing in cities and encouraging the organizing that's already happening, and network the progressive groups together. So far we've had about 6 or 7 new progressive alliances from San Diego up through the North Coast created, and we want to see many, many more. And as Lieutenant Governor, we could use that seat, all of us, to network together as a progressive movement and to show that we have that statewide power to get the state issues implemented. Because some issues can't be addressed at a local level. A lot can, but some need statewide attention. And the only way we're going to do it is with that people power. And that means everybody doing their part, play a role in connecting within their community, their cities, their regions. And then if we have the Lieutenant Governor's seat, we could do rallies, we could put out press releases, we could make it clear to the legislature that there are not just the Lieutenant Governor, but there is a mass of people up and down the state who want SB 562, who want free public college, who want to tax the 1% with a reform of Prop 13, closing the corporate loophole, keeping Prop 13 for the homeowners like it was supposed to be, and like a progressive millionaires tax. We can ban fracking like it should have been banned a while back. There's so many things, and we can get a public bank in place. We just need to band together, and we need those community experts to really research. I mean, I'm in touch with so many experts within the community, and I'm doing my homework, learning how the best way we can implement and put pressure at the legislature to implement these issues.
And I have to ask you also, to me, you are an expert in local organizing and finding the root issues and organizing around that, which is so, so important. So for people listening, for people watching, for our viewers, what are the questions they can be asking themselves to identify the root causes in their communities to build a progressive alliance around that?
Oh, excellent. So that's a wonderful question. Rather than just listening to a lot of the establishment elected officials who look at, kind of skim the surface of the issues and often say this can't happen, this isn't feasible, or this could only happen if we do a little incremental change at a time. We have to think bold, and we have to think outside of the box. Now, first of all, crime, for example, you have to use innovative approaches. We have outreach teams in Richmond made up of formerly incarcerated individuals who go out into the neighborhoods. These are people who turn their lives around, and they reach out to the young people or the individuals involved in crime and say, listen, you are going to end up in prison or worse unless you get the services that I would like to steer you into. And so they quell the violence before it begins. They steer people into anger management, substance abuse programs, job training, education programs. All of these are necessary to give people opportunities so they don't end up in bad lifestyles. So any issue, poverty, what is the root cause of poverty? Well, we know that the cost of living is so high in California. We know people can't afford their rent. We want statewide rent control. We want to have truly affordable housing so people don't spend all their money on their mortgage or their rent. And also we want to raise that minimum wage. $15 an hour like we did in Richmond is a good start, but we want it to go up even higher. So we have to keep raising these issues. I'm also standing for a universal minimum income. I don't know if you've heard about that, but giving everybody, including the homeless, unemployed, give people a minimum income so they won't be at wit's end, if they lose their job or their home. They have something, while they're getting their lives back on track. So I think we need to keep exploring and brainstorming, and that's what I'll do as Lieutenant Governor. I'm looking forward to creating a shadow cabinet of great leaders. I expect to have DSA leaders on that cabinet and many other leaders who will advise me and who we could brainstorm on the issues and get them implemented and do the organizing we need to do to make it happen.
That's the first time I heard shadow government, and I was like, oh boy, what a great idea. That's wonderful. Gayle McLaughlin, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.